Thanks, little guy. This is gonna be awesome!
I'm coming, Norman!
Oh yeah! A saxophone solo!
And part of me, like when I'm just really curious by new ways of working. So this next video is me messing around in VR. I don't know if anybody here uses VR, but I just feel like it's a new technology, this new way of working, and I wanted to try it for animation and just to see if there's any cost benefits there, like savings. So I have this shot here of my little robot guy taking off, and then I popped it open. I cached him. Oh, sorry. I'll just talk slowly. I cached him out so that his body here is just an alembic cache, so you got all his animation on there. He doesn't have arms and legs because I deleted them because they were getting too heavy in the scene. But I brought the alembic cache into this program called AnimVR. And what AnimVR is, if you don't know, is like it's like a 2D animation pipeline, but when you are in VR space, you're drawing in 3D space. So when you draw a line in 3D space, it's drawing a geometry kind of big smear, and you can animate that frame by frame over time. And so I thought, hey, it'd be kind of cool if I can animate this blast effect thing in VR. Instead of like dealing with particles and all that kind of stuff, I get a really cool 2D anime style, which I really like. And so let's see. So here's a little time lapse of me drawing kind of in 3D space. It's just a really fun way of working. Like, I don't know, I really enjoy it. And so what I did here is once I was happy with the kind of shapes and the performance, I cached this out as an alembic cache and brought that into Unity and kind of just matched it up to his position there, added some like more rings and stuff, and had it be emissive so that it's casting light, which is something that you can't really do with the 2D like overlay with effects and stuff. If it's a 3D object, you can have it cast light, and that light's then on the characters and stuff in 3D space, which is kind of cool. And it also gives you the freedom to kind of move the camera afterwards. So if I was to hand draw this in 2D, I couldn't really, I'd be locked to that camera, right? So this way it allows me to have a bit more freedom and move the camera around.
Neat.
Yeah.
Is it easy to learn?
Oh, this is, yeah. It's super easy. Like there's no interface really. There's like a timeline, and you can tweak your brush settings and stuff, and then you just start drawing. And I think they're making it more layers to it, but it's just like it's just like drawing in real life. So if you like that, what's so cool about VR these days is there's like very little interface. You know, like it's just kind of a more natural way of working.
Do you find it quite disorienting when you're painting in it?
I mean, it looks really crazy when it's sped up like this. You might get motion sickness from it, but in real life, it's super chill. It's like you're holding a sculpture and you're just like turning it with one hand, and you're just drawing, and then you turn it and you draw. And so it's, I don't know, I found it really relaxing.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you're gonna work this way from now on?
I think so. Yeah.
Is there no going back now?
I still think, you know, working in Maya with a Wacom or whatever is more precise, but it is really fun. Like there's some people doing some really cool stuff with AnimVR, and you can look it up. There's a guy named Joe D or something, Joe D Hill or something like that. I can't remember his name. Joe Daniels. That's Joe Daniels. look him up on Twitter and Instagram. He's amazing. So yeah, tons of cool stuff. It's like a new art form. It's like kind of stop motion looking, kind of 2D, kind of 3D. I don't know. Check it out. It's gonna be pretty wild.
Cool.
Yeah. This is just a time lapse video of me building a scene in Unity. Sorry. Just I don't know if you guys are curious, but like I started knowing nothing in Unity, and if you want to see me kind of start from just a basic plane to a final shot or pretty close to final shot, this is just a quick little breakdown. It's kind of funny. Just paint the grass textures on there. I just used some cylinders for the trees, a couple of rocks here for the little river. And I'll quickly just say that this bottom part here is my camera, so I'm always composing stuff to the specific camera viewport here. And this is my 3D workspace so that I can just move everything around in easily.
Oh, you just created a stream.
Yeah.
Oh, that's neat.
Just some volumetric lights, some like ambient light reflecting off the river. And I'm like, yeah, okay, this is kind of cool. I'm happy with it. But then I wanted to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Get some trees in there, some foreground, kind of split the layers so you have foreground, midground, and background. And then, of course, the cloud cards, which everybody needs to kind of have that mist.
Yeah.
And it's just fun to like compose stuff and try and like lead the eye, you know, like they always say that in art school, like how can you lead the eye and whatever, composition, blah, blah, blah. But it's true, it's important. Like if you, I think that what's cool about having this big mountain is it like draws your attention to the character and the motion and all this stuff kind of hopefully is pointing towards that. But yeah.
Yeah, you have the foreground plants and then the stuff that's far. So foreground, midground, background.
It's all important for even animators to consider, you know, how we can lead our audience's eye.
Yep.
And so then once this was all done, I took this trailer to Annecy, which, if you guys don't know, Annecy is a big animation festival in France every summer. And this is my first time going, and I was super nervous because I didn't know anybody. I was going by myself completely to this festival that's, you know, filled with tons of people.
Did you get invited? Is that why you went?
No, I didn't. Anyone can go and you just pay for a pass, and then there's like a business pass where you like spend extra money, and then you can go pitch to like all the studios and stuff. Everyone's kind of got like a booth, and you can just walk around and chat to people.
Cool.
So I was like, yeah, it's like, well, here goes nothing. Let's see what you know, how I can just learn as, you know, fast as possible how to pitch with people. And so when I got there, I found out that Unity, the software that I used, they got super behind the project. So because I was completely indie, I had no money and no budget, and I was working in my basement for an hour every day, and not like this wasn't my full-time job or anything. They kind of got really behind the project because it just kind of proves that, you know, people with very little real-time experience can hop into their software and start picking it up and learning a lot really quickly. So they started, when I showed up to Annecy, there's all these posters and stuff with like my work around it. Like obviously they asked, you know, do you have any images that we can use for promotion and stuff? So I was like, yeah, sure. So I gave them stuff, but so this is like a big poster here, and this big white building here is like where you go, you just go up these stairs and you go into here and pitch to all like Disney and all these other big companies and stuff are in there. So I show up to like pitch my show, and I'm super nervous and like, hey guys, I'm from Canada. And then I go into here and I see like this poster here. It was super awesome to see that. And the other thing that was really cool is, yeah, right in the middle of town, like there's this giant billboard with my little Norman dude right on it. And behind him here is this, like, what's that movie coming out? Playmobil or something. anyways, and there's a big screen here that in the summertime, it was kind of rainy when we were there, but every night they would project movies. Like they showed Spider-Man, Spider-Verse stuff, which was really awesome to see with a whole big audience and stuff. And so this is right in the middle of town, which is really cool because like behind where this picture was taken, there was one of the parties with all these distributor guys, and they were all drinking champagne and stuff. And they were asking me about my project, and then I was telling them, and I was like, yeah, it's about this kid with robot arms and stuff. And they're like, cool, how can we see this project? And so thankful we were there, because I was like, oh, there's this billboard if you just look right there. And so yeah, I'm very grateful that Unity was supporting the project so much, because without them, like stuff like that wouldn't have happened. But it was really cool.
Hey, good on you. That's a great story.
Thanks. Yeah.
Aaron has another question for you. Is there a reason why you would prefer to use VR for 2D effects of using a 2D software such as Toon Boom, or are there any benefits to using this method, as in your VR method?
Yeah. Well, I'll go back to this for a second. Like Toon Boom is awesome, and people who use it, like there is kind of like a 2.5D sort of function of Toon Boom, I think. Like I'm not super familiar with it. I'm also not really a great 2D artist, you know what I mean? So like drawing on paper or on digitally is cool, but with doing it in VR, I can draw my stroke, and then I can go in there and like it's geometry, so you can like nudge it. There's tools in VR to like just kind of sculpt it a bit more. So it just kind of allows for people who are not talented, like hand drawing wise, to kind of to leverage their 3D skills a bit more, which is cool. And also, like I said earlier, is it gives you the freedom to move the camera around. So if I was just to draw it in a traditional 2D package, I'd be kind of stuck to that framing. Whereas if I do it in 3D, I could have a moving camera or whatever I want, and keep it dynamic and not be locked to that certain camera. If that makes sense.
So does it work the same way? Obviously, you set a key, you have a time slider, and then you just move it forward, set a key, same thing? Yeah,
pretty much. I mean, there might be ways now where it's more like Maya, like you keep the same object in space and you can move it through time. But I think how it was when I was using it is it's more like 2D. So when you draw that drawing, it only exists for that frame. You know what I mean? So you have to like go frame forward and move it a little bit. You know what I mean? So it's like traditional 2D animation with pencil and paper, where a new frame is a blank piece of paper, and then you can just draw right on top and keep things moving that way. You can copy and paste frames if you want to keep something still. But when I was using it, it was kind of just like, a new drawing each frame.
Yeah, right.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Rishab has a question for you.
Sure.
Do you use lightweight render pipeline when using Unity, and the PBR graphs for the texturing?
Yeah, great question. So when I started in Unity, where's my Unity thing? I'll just keep it on topic. There was only the PBR pipeline, like the PBR stands for physically based textures, I think, or whatever, physically based rendered stuff. So it's like, when I started, that's all there was. When I finished this, that's when lightweight render pipeline came out, and the HD render pipeline, all that stuff. And for those guys who don't know Unity well, the lightweight render pipeline is like, it's just like from mobile phones and stuff. It's kind of about, increasing your graphic fidelity so it can be on phones and the Switch and whatever, and just be as lightweight as possible. And there's a new one called the HD render pipeline, which is like for AAA consoles and PC games that Unity is trying to, really push more now, because Unreal is so powerful and does some really cool visuals. And so with these new tools and new pipelines, Unity is hoping to compete with that for sure. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks for your question, Rishab.
I have one last video here I can show you guys. So one of the powerful things about working in a real-time space is obviously you can make video games. So It's kind of my wild pie in the sky dream to make a video game, and it'd be really cool if I could have a company like it's kind of my weird dream to make a company where I can make video games and TV shows and apps and whatever. So I'm not a programmer, so there's not really much game here, but it's kind of just a basic, here's our assets in our world running around. You can walk around in the Norman's, jungle, and that's about it at the moment. But we're working hard to kind of build a little prototype and see if there's any actual interest in making this into a full-fledged kind of indie game. So, yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. So that's kind of my whole spiel. Yeah, guys.
Did you where did you get the style of the animation as well? Did you have in mind like how cartoony you wanted to push it, or did that just kind of happen organically?
Yeah, good question. I really wanted to push it further, but just because I was lazy and I didn't want to spend too much time on it, I just kind of left it. It's kind of like a hybrid between cartoony and realism. I do like Norman's face sometimes. He has some fun expressions. Maybe not here, but I like how he's got like missing giant teeth and stuff, which is fun. Yeah. Where is his arm shot like this? My buddy Brad rigged this up, his eyes, so you can actually do a lot with them. Like you could squish them down so they're like for a blink shape, so you can go like open and then blink, and then you can do like weird kind of jelly bean type shapes with them, so you can really get a lot of flexibility out of those eyeballs. It's just I didn't often do it because I was like, but there's good enough, let's keep moving. But yeah.
So you didn't look at like a Pixar movie and like, or say like a, I don't know, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs or something, and be like, oh, I want to make it look like that,
I do want to make it look like that. Maybe going forward, I'll try and push it a bit further. It's also like one thing that's in Unity that's difficult is like squash and stretch, like scaling joints. So Unity doesn't like it if you, like, for example, there are noodles on his arms. Let me try and find it.
I was about to mention that as well, because that's one of the limitations in using game engines.
Yeah. So there's kind of a little bit of like a noodle in his arm, like bend, but it's not great. So you can't really, we're working on it now with this next project we're on to push the cartoony stuff a lot, but it is a little bit tricky. They just don't like, game engines don't like the joints to scale unless it's uniform.
Yeah.
Is there a particular reason for that?
I don't know, actually. I'm not too techy to understand it completely. But I was going to post it on here, but I did like a noodly arm test just to kind of see the limitations of our rig. And it actually, we got some cool stuff out of it. We just need a bit more time to develop those tools for sure.
I think only one of the only like truly successful times I've witnessed like squash and stretch in a video game is probably Blizzard, like the Overwatch stuff where they really push the characters and even in their cycles and stuff. There's loads of squash and stretch, and I was sitting there thinking, how did they must have had to write something to do this?
Yeah, I don't know. They use their own engine, right? So
yeah, I guess
they must have the support for that kind of stuff. But yeah.
So with your animation, I guess planning, do you use step keys? Do you kind of plan it out that way, poses, and then lock it in that way?
I think with more cartoony stuff, it's probably good to do that. I'll bring back my time lapse thing. I just like reference a lot. Like I have